There we go. Let's go.
Oh, and we have a new voice, a new recorded voice. Thank you. Welcome to it's a pleasure to welcome the members and staff and any guests we may have. There are certain notifications that have to be read into the transcript, and the General Counsel is with us. He will take care of that now, and then we will move on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On March 7th, 2020, Governor Cuomo declared a disaster emergency in the state of New York due to the outbreak of the novel coronavirus, or COVID-19. Pursuant to Governor Cuomo's subsequent executive order 202-.1 dated March 12th, 2020, as extended most recently by Executive Order 202.72, today's regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York, or DASNY, is being conducted telephonically and by video conference. Executive Order 202.1, as extended, provides in relevant part that Article 7 of the Public Officers Law, known as the Open Meetings Law, is suspended through December 3rd, 2020, to the extent necessary to permit any public body to meet and take such actions authorized by the law without permitting in public, in-person access to meetings, and authorizing such meetings to be held remotely by conference call or similar service, provided that the public has the ability to view or listen to such proceeding, and that such meetings are recorded and later transcribed. At the time of the board mailing, staff anticipated an extension of Executive Order 202.1 to encompass today's board meeting. For the record, I'd like to confirm that Governor Cuomo signed Executive Order 202.72 on November 3rd, 2020, continuing the suspension of the Open Meetings Law for an additional 30-day period through and including December 3rd, 2020. The location of today's conference call and video conference board meeting is designated as the DASNY headquarters, 515 Broadway, Albany, New York, where I am located. Notice of this meeting has been posted in the standard locations that are publicly accessible. Notice has also been posted prominently on the DASNY.org public website. In accordance with EO 202.1 as extended and the DASNY bylaws, an audio and video recording of today's meeting will be accessible from DASNY's website, www.dasny.org, not later than 2 business days after the close of the meeting, and today's proceedings will also be transcribed and posted as soon thereafter as is reasonable and practicable under the circumstances. I will now turn the meeting over to my colleague, Kim Ellis, who will conduct a roll call. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. General Counsel. Kim, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At today's meeting, we have board members, Al Carney, Board Chair, John Johnson, John Gardner, Burl Snyder, Joan Sullivan, Jerry Romsky, Janice McKinney, Brian Chechnicki, Tracy Rowley, and I have someone who joined at 518-779-4100. Is that Adrian?
That is. Good morning.
Okay, and we have Adrian Shahuski. In addition, from staff, we have Karen Ellinger, Maria Carrasco, Matt Bergen, Ricardo Solomon, Gerard Clauser, Portia Lee, President McDaniel, Kathy Everett, Mike Cusack, Mike Johnson, Steve Currow, Paul Koopman, Deb Fasser, Caroline Griffin, and I think that's it.
We have a special guest, it looks like in the corner.
Who's stuck in the corner? Who do I miss?
Is that the Paul Williams? It looks like his picture.
Oh, I just admitted him, yes, and Paul Williams.
I just joined. I'm just observing.
Hey, Paul, it's Al Carney. Good to see you.
Likewise, good to hear your voice, Al.
All right, so we know who's with us. I will commence the agenda for the meeting. The first item of business, of course, is the The review and hopefully the approval of the October 14th conference meeting transcript. Do any of the
Hello?
Uh-oh.
Mr. Chairman?
Al, can you hear us?
I can't hear Al.
Yeah,
I
can.
can't,
Me?
John Johnson, I can't hear anything
Yeah,
other
no,
than,
I'm
it doesn't
assuming-
appear he's on mute, but looks like, did he drop off?
Let me bring out a quick email.
Sure, he's wondering why no one will approve the minutes.
Yeah,
I predict that's what he's doing, and I'll make the motion if anybody.
It's like he dropped off and he's
just
gonna
send him a
join
quick
again.
email. I sent him an
He's gonna come
email,
back in.
see if he responds. I don't know.
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Go out. Yeah, better.
Terrific. I asked for a motion to approve the transcript. Is there a motion?
See, I anticipated that. Yes.
Thank you very much.
I'll second Mrs. Beryl.
Daryl, thank you for the second. Rather than asking for eyes around the virtual room, I'll simply say, does any member object to the approval of the transcript? Hearing no objections, the transcript is approved unanimously. We will go to the second item on the agenda, the Finance Committee report. Mr. Romsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We met yesterday afternoon by way of Zoom. We adopted the meeting minutes from the September meeting of the Finance Committee, since there was no Finance Committee meeting in October. And then we advanced to discuss two resolutions, the first being the Urban Health Planning. And after some excellent discussion and feedback from the Department of Health rep, our colleague, and recognition that the Department of Health had issued the required certificate of need, we recommend that that be approved at today's full board meeting. We then advanced to discuss the FIT Student Housing Corporation resolution. And again, after some discussion, we also recommend that that be approved at today's full board meeting. And unless anyone has any questions or concerns, that will conclude my report, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Romsky, thank you very much. Let me commend you for what was an excellent discussion yesterday on both financings, but particularly the urban health plan financing. We will obviously go there today as a full board, but yours was a very good meeting and a very good discussion of the two financings. Thank you for doing that for us yesterday. I will move directly then from the Finance Committee report to the President, who will take us to the resolution, through the resolutions to proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Behind tab 3, you have the Urban Health Plan, Inc., the staff memo with Gerard Clouser presenting. Before he presents, I just want to say thank you to Tracy Rowley. She worked really hard with our staff to get all the memos together and work with the Department of Health to get this transaction in the shape it needs to be. So Gerard, with that, please.
Can't hear you, Gerard.
Gerard, I think you have a problem with that mute button.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Go.
Okay, I didn't turn it on or off, and that seems to happen to me. I don't know. Can everybody still hear me okay?
Yep, you're
Yes.
fine.
Okay, apologies. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, DASNY staff and guests, the transaction summary and staff report provided to the members is seeking authorization for a resolution to proceed for Urban Health Plan, Inc. This will be a fixed and or variable rate transaction. Tax exempt and or taxable bonds will be issued with maturities not to exceed 30 years. This is expected to be a private placement with Preston Hollow Capital with a not to exceed amount of $70 million. There will be two series of bonds, a Series 2020A and a Series 2020B. The Series B bonds are for a bridge financing, which is expected to be paid down in 3 years with the proceeds of governmental grant proceeds. This is a new money transaction for a federally qualified health clinic. Purpose of this financing is to finance the CON. The proceeds of the bonds will be used for the construction of a new extension clinic and a certain brownfield cleanup on a vacant lot located at 1095 Southern Boulevard, the Bronx, New York. The new building will be a 57,000 square foot, 6-story facility that will include approximately 47,000 square feet of clinical Article 28 space, with a remainder for mechanical areas and a parking garage. Security features will include mortgage on the property, a pledge of the UHP Urban Health Plan gross receipts, a Medicaid lockbox, and a 1-year debt service reserve fund. The bonds will not be rated. UHP Inc. does not have an underlying rating. We are in receipt of a term sheet from Preston Hollow Capital that is in alignment with the CON requirements for the financing. Preston Hollow Capital Inc. has done a similar transaction with Richmond Hospital away from DASNY, and they are a QIB. Urban Health Plan is a new client. They have not issued debt with DASNY previously. We've worked closely with our colleagues at the Department of Health, resulting in a CON approval for the project. The DOH review and approval letter endorsing the transaction is in hand. With DOH, we conducted an extensive review of cash flows for the project under the worst case scenario. UHP's payer mix is Medicaid heavy and as an FQHC, the Medicaid reimbursement rates are enhanced or higher. The review of the cash flows resulted in favorable revenue projections and debt service coverage statistics to support the cash flows. This is a well-established healthcare provider in this region with several facilities, which they've successfully operated since 1974. Urban Health Plan holds a 31% market share. Its competitors are Community Healthcare Network of approximately 19% and Bronx Care Health System, which is about 15%. The Department of Health and the City of New York are fully supporting this project with grant funds of approximately $20 million. Staff recommends that the board adopt a resolution to proceed for the 30-year bond issue in an amount not to exceed $70 million on behalf of the Urban Health Plan, Inc. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Clauser, thank you very much. Would you take a second and explain the 3-year bridge financing, just for the record, at the meeting?
Of course. I mentioned the grant proceeds, and those proceeds will be used primarily for the Series B bonds.
Yep.
And
yep.
The expectation
as you described yesterday. Thank you.
Yeah. And the expectation is that those proceeds will come in, and we may not even need to issue the 2020 B bonds if the timing of those proceeds is efficient and less than that time frame. Or if they draw the proceeds down as a result of the timing of the building, then they will hold on to the proceeds and the bonds can be redeemed within a 3-year time frame. So the Series B bonds are drawdown bonds. They will not be issued right off the bat, but they will be issued as the project moves forward. And if the timing of the grants come in, then they would use the grant money as opposed to the bond proceeds.
Gerard, can you talk about the worst case scenario on the grants?
Yes, and also I mentioned the cash flow projections that were done with the Department of Health. We requested that the banker provide us some cash flows if the $15 million or the $20 million of grant proceeds did not come in. Those cash flows projections were favorable. I think that there was debt service coverages, from 2.5 to 3.5. And so they were able to demonstrate that the revenues generated from this facility would be sufficient enough to carry the debt service if the grants proceeds did not ever come in.
Thank you very much, Gerard. let me say before the board, before I ask for a motion to approve the resolution, and to our member Tracy Raleigh, your memorandum was just very thorough, very candid memorandum. And although I said this on the record yesterday, I'll say it now. We are very grateful that you and your staff took the time to literally in writing walk us through this transaction. It is, in my personal view, I'm one man voting, an extraordinary opportunity for DASNY to do what DASNY was designed to do, and that is to provide financing for this underserved community at a time when, as the New York Times headline this morning suggests, for example, the virus is raging. So thank you for a very thorough job, Tracy, and thank you for representing the Department of Health in the excellent manner in which you do on this board. If there are any questions for Tracy, certainly this is the time to ask them. Hearing none, may I have a motion, please, to approve the transaction?
So moved.
I know somebody said something, but I don't know who or what.
That was Tracy Al. Thank you. And I moved the motion.
Oh, thank you, Tracy. Thank you very much. Is there a second?
Second, Joan Sullivan.
Joan, thank you very much. All in favor, please. I'm sorry. No, we're not going to do it that way. Are there any objections to the approval of the resolution which approves the transaction? Hearing none, the motion as seconded is approved unanimously. Thank you all very much. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Behind tab 4 is the FIT Student Housing Corporation to be presented by Matt Bergen. Before he presents, I just want to say that FIT housing is an issue very similar to our SUNY dorm transaction, where the bonds are really secured by dorm revenues. However, in this case, the FIT has backed up that obligation, just like one of us might do for one of our children. Our staff was very proactive in reviewing all of our debt, and they recognized that FIT, given the COVID situation, might want to look at restructuring and spend a lot of time with financial advisors and others to structure this transaction. So I just applaud Portia, Matt, and their team for the work they did on this transaction. Really, really good proactive work on behalf of FIT. With that, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, everyone. The staff report, good morning. The staff report provided to the members presents an 18-year term for a bond issue in an amount not to exceed $39 million on behalf of the FIT Student Housing Corporation. The FIT Student Housing Corporation was created to develop and operate dormitories for FIT and was added to DASNY's statute in 1982. FIT's Board of Trustees also serves as the Board of Directors for the FIT Student Housing Corporation. The project that you're considering is the partial refunding and restructuring of DASNY's FIT Student Housing Corporation Insured Revenue Bonds, Series 2007. And this will provide near-term debt service relief due to the low occupancy rates, which are a result of the pandemic. We are currently discussing this partial refunding and restructuring of the Series 2007 bonds in the context of providing for 3 years of debt service relief. This amounts to approximately $9.7 million of debt service relief annually. Current thoughts are that the debt service on the proposed refunding and restructuring bonds is anticipated to mature between 2035 and 2038, which is after the 2034 maturity of the Series 2007 bonds. The partial restructuring and refunding of the Series 2007 bonds does not provide aggregate savings on a net present value basis. It is anticipated that the bond issue will be secured by a policy of municipal bond insurance. The bonds will also be secured by a mortgage and a pledge of the room rents of Kaufman Hall, which is the residential facility located at 406 West 31st Street. The FIT Student Housing Corporation will also continue to have an operating agreement with FIT, whereby payments of the debt service will be a general obligation of FIT to the extent of the non-payment of such amounts by the FIT Student Housing Corporation. In addition, it is also anticipated that the bonds will be secured by a debt service reserve fund. Mr. Chairman and Mr. President, I just wanted to clarify some of the discussions at yesterday's Finance Committee meeting. The Series 2007 bonds are not subject to optional redemption prior to maturity. And so for the Series 2020 bonds, we are simply funding an escrow that will pay the scheduled principal and interest only on the specific serial bonds being refunded, which is expected to be.
Okay.
And finally, in looking at the transaction summary, although we have requested flexibility, we are anticipating this to be a fixed rate, taxable bond transaction, with this respect providing near-term debt service relief rates, which are a result of the pandemic. Mr. Chairman.
Matt, what do you expect the debt service reserve fund to be as a percentage of the annual obligation?
You know, the way the debt service reserve fund works, it's a parity reserve fund under the resolution. So it'll be funded for maximum P&I for both the 2007 bonds as well as the 2020 bonds.
Yes.
Because the maximum annual debt service increases by about $1.1 million, it's anticipated that we'll have to fund a reserve fund in that amount. However, the reserve fund is looked at in aggregate between the 07 bonds and the 2020 bonds. So it's the maximum P&I on both series of bonds.
I got it. Thank you, Matt. Thanks very much. Yep. Are there questions for Matt? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please, to approve the transaction?
I'll move. This is Beryl.
Beryl, thank you very much. And who will second?
I'll second Janice.
Janice, thank you very much. Good to have you on the screen. The motion has been, my motion has been seconded appropriately. If there's no discussion, then I will ask whether there are any objections to the motion as made and seconded. Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. The transaction is approved. Thank you very much. We go on now, I believe. The next item is the president's
audit report.
No, audit committee report.
The audit committee report. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The audit committee met yesterday. We had a regular meeting to consider the audit committee charter. There were no recommendations. We also heard a report from KPMG on the 2021 audit plan. They delivered their report efficiently, very helpful. We also heard an internal control update from Karen Ellinger. That's the annual update. And we also had an internal audit update, and we considered an internal audit report. I think that's my report. There's nothing to recommend to the board.
Sum and substance. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Are there any questions for Chairman Gardner? Hearing none, we have no resolutions to approve, so we can move on to the next agenda item, which is the report of the president. John, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it's good to be with all of you today. I first want to just share a couple of personal stories with each of you. My uncle back in the 50s was drafted into the Army and served 2 years and came out and just went on about his life. I have a good friend who served in Vietnam and told stories about how difficult that day-to-day lifestyle was. I have a good friend of mine who served in Iraq in the green zone as an accountant and was never in, quote, harm's way, but said every night the Iraqis would shell around so that no one could sleep at the compound. And this past weekend, a good friend of mine, son who graduated from the Air Force Academy, had a very quick courthouse wedding with his girlfriend, who also is from the Air Force Academy, so they could be deployed together. I say all this to say that I just want to say special gratefulness to all of our veterans as we are in Veterans Day week, particularly those veterans and families of veterans at DASNY. Your service is unbelievable, unparalleled, and certainly fully appreciated by all of us. I want to highlight that as we begin my President's report.
Mr. President, thank you very much for that. It is an appropriate recognition of our nation's commitment to safety and peace around the world. There's a great deal to be said about that. This is not the place to say it all, but it's a very important note that you make. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. And then the second thing I want to do is, in order of the names I call, I'd like to have Beryl, Gerard, and Chairman Carney gush over their visit to 28 Liberty. Beryl, can you tell us how that went?
I would be thrilled to do it. So I took the subway downtown from the Upper West Side to our new facility. Subway worked perfectly. It was great. It opens at the very bottom of the building. Steve Curl will verify. If I hadn't knew my way around, I wouldn't be wandering the streets looking at my phone. But everything is actually, I was stunned at how much progress they had made and how beautiful not only the area, but the building was. It is state of the art. It is befitting to an organization like ours that does construction and highlights New York State. I think there will not be a single person that will be disappointed. We could not see the view, but the view was really but I've been downtown many times before. It will be stunning, but everything about it, from being a beacon in that area, to people's offices, to the flow, to the safety. I felt extremely safe in there. And I think everyone will be surprised and will welcome every meeting we have there, notwithstanding the extra little subway ride.
And how quick were the elevators, Beryl?
I barely knew we got in them. And I barely knew, and there was room for social distancing. Hopefully at some point I won't even say that word again. I'd love never to say that word again. That they were fast. I swallowed a few times and my ears popped. That's about the extent of it. I can't wait till DASNY is there, frankly.
Great. Thank you, Beryl. Jerry?
The only thing I know to add to that, I still haven't seen our plaque there, Mr. President. So,
well, Mr. Romsky, of course, we'll have a full unveiling of the plaque. Don't worry about that.
but otherwise, I think Beryl sort of hit the mark. I mean, it's the process, and your team, your construction team, should be credited for their work in this very difficult environment. And I certainly look forward to actually having our first live meeting, hopefully sometime in the spring, or maybe even earlier if things go right. But I'm sure everyone will be very pleased with the results. And I thank you for your leadership. And I note that your office, I'll send you the photos of your office view after this meeting. Thank you.
I appreciate that. That'll be my new background. People think I'm in the office. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. President, I am of the view that we could not have made a better decision. Maybe an equally good decision, but not a better decision. The space is coming together in a way that is, in my view, faster than a speeding bullet. Peter Jackson, the project manager, is doing a terrific job down there under the leadership, of course, of our managing director, Steve Curl. But the space is just going to be outstandingly beautiful. We were there on a day when it was cloudy, and we're high enough up so that it was cloudy and we couldn't see anything. But Finance Committee Chairman Romsky had photographs of every view from the 4 points of the space. so that what we couldn't see outside, Gerard actually was able to show us on his iPhone. Now that may mean that our finance committee chairman is a bit obsessive, but it also means that it was a beautiful way to stand in a space, not be able to see a thing, and then have somebody actually show us what was going on. Jerry, for your information, Paul Koopman and I have talked about the plaque. I have seen what it's going to look like. We will have a plaque on the walls when we get there.
Obviously, I was only kidding, Al.
Of course you were, but
really not necessary.
But I just want you to know that the DASNY is working on it, and isn't life wonderful? I was impressed with the safety precautions. We were required to check in on the outside at a table that had been set up just not to welcome us, but to usher people into the building. To Beryl's point, you couldn't help but feel that you were in safe space. I suspect it's going to feel that way once it's open. There may not be a card table set up outside, but I suspect it's going to be, we're going to feel as if we are in the right space and a safe space. And I'm really pleased about that. So Mr. President, and to the board members who were there, it was a terrific experience for me. My second trip down, they even took us up to the restaurant there, which is called Manhattan, with an A at the end. I'm not sure that I'll ever be able to afford to eat there, but the views from and it's at the top of the mark, and it's the very top of the building. Just terrific. And I had a chance to look at the menu while we were up there. So it's going to be terrific to be in that space and to have access to that opportunity, just to go upstairs and eat a terrific meal and enjoy it. So supporting everything that's already been said. We couldn't see the view from your office, Mr. President, but I suspect it's going to be beautiful.
Well, wonderful. And thank you, board members, for that update. Always better coming from someone who has been there. I will just continue to report that we are on schedule and under budget, as we should be.
And I think, Ruben, that Venato regrets its decision every day, even more and more and more.
I think they do for sure.
You know, with the rates, you know, if we knew today what we, you know, if we knew then what we know today, obviously some of the terms might have been different, but you know, it is what it is, you know. So, but thank you.
Great, thanks so much. Moving on. So, you know, I know we all have COVID fatigue, but this is no time for us to let up. Between now and January the 2nd, our offices will have the same work schedules that they have now. We will basically have A days and B days, people coming and going to the office. We did do some work internally in the building in Albany to increase the capacity to allow for 50% capacity as opposed to 25% capacity, just to provide flexibility to people who were moving and needed to get in the office for some reason. But we will be staying remote for the most part until the beginning of the year. We'll continue to update, but I'm pleased to report that the building is in good shape. We are all staying safe, and we just cannot have fatigue. We have to get through this together. So we're moving well on that piece. We have spent a lot of time over the past several months for sure, but some of the past month doing outreach to various partners, and whether they're legislators or heads of organizations or some of our financing partners, we spent a lot of time doing that. And you would expect as president that I would do that anyway. What you probably don't know is doing it via Zoom means that our staff has to do a lot more prep work for those meetings. And so they really spent a lot of time making sure that I am prepared because it's not just a casual setting where you meet somebody, you know, you really have to be more focused. And so I just want to say thank you to the staff for all the prep work they do there. And Jeff Gordon and Communications and their team do a good job of kind of getting us all set up electronically. So that's been going very, very well. We have several things coming up. We've got 2 conferences coming up shortly, including in December, the MWBE conference. And we're working hard to make sure that both the DASNY panel presentation as well as our virtual booth are really accommodative for our partners to be able to come in, speak with the people that want to speak to, make sure that people like Mike Clay and his group are all available, because it is hard during these periods of time for us to engage with some of our smaller minority and women-owned firms. And we want to try to give everyone a chance to be able to be in contact with our staff in whatever way we can in the current environment. So I appreciate everybody's work on that. It's not easy to tape and to do something virtually, but we've done a great job, and staff's done a great job there. In your package, you also have the proposed calendar for the 2021 board schedule. Fairly straightforward. Clearly, if we have special meetings required, you all have been excellent about accommodating that for our clients, but you should have that schedule. And if anyone has any specific issues, just send me a quick note and we can address them if necessary. With that, I'm gonna call on Steve Curl to give us.
Excuse me just a minute, Ruben.
Excuse me. Yes, sir.
I just as you're talking about the schedule, I just remind you and everybody else that if everything breaks right, I'm perfectly willing, health agreeing, to host a meeting up here in Northern New York on the St. Lawrence River sometime. So if you want a real COVID break, here's the place.
Well, it feels like, fingers crossed, maybe our July meeting could be up there when it's nice and warm. And if we have to meet outside, we'll meet outside. But thanks for that offer, John.
And Ruben, let me thank John for that offer. We have had a meeting there. It was years back. It was just, we were embraced by the people in John's region. It was a terrific experience. I know it was expensive for the authority at the time. If Paul Williams is still on the phone, he will remember that. We had a terrific time up there. It was a great meeting. And if we can do it again, it would be wonderful to do it again.
Great. Thanks so much. We appreciate that. Look forward to that opportunity.
John, is the Rome train station still open and
I knew it was coming.
available?
And I think they have special cab service now.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
I'd like to ask Steve Curl to give us a construction report update, please. Steve?
Sure, thank you. I just have to note that what I remember from that meeting was the food. And I can tell you that meeting, I don't know if the guy caught the fish that day, but that food that night was terrific. And I would second, third, and fourth the motion to go to that part of the world and have another board meeting. That being said, 28 Liberty, the construction does continue. We're closing in on the really the end of the construction phase of that project. There are still a number of tasks to be completed. We've got finished work, floor coverings and fire life safety systems to finish up installation and testing on. We do anticipate that substantial completion will come as predicted, this month or early next month, and at which time our DASNY folks will swing into action and get our IS systems installed and implemented, and any last furniture installations in place. So all is pointing to a completion of that space per the schedule. I just want to mention a couple other quick projects, a short report here today. FIT on the new $189 million academic building, they finished up with 2 town hall meetings for the FIT community, which included the faculty and students. They held town hall meetings and invited DASNY to participate. From DASNY, we had Paul Conglavis, our construction phase manager, and Jack Martin, our design phase manager, assisting with any Q&A at that town hall meeting. And there was a significant amount of questions that came from the faculty and the students, as you can imagine. On the positive side, both construction contracts have been signed, so construction is officially underway, and physical construction will start probably in another month or so. So good news there. We anticipate about a 3-year schedule on that project. Lastly, on Moynihan Station, our code compliance group is in full court press mode right now as they're trying, the contractor there, Skanska, is trying to finish up that project. And have some kind of an opening in the near future. We have deployed a couple of full-time staffers down there from our code group. They join one of our term consultants who has represented DASNY throughout the course of that project. And really the goal is to assist with any observation or fire life safety system testing and to ensure that things are properly constructed so that we can go forward and issue a TAO when things test out. So a large task ahead, but we have boots on the ground down there. We are meeting every Wednesday with them, them being the larger group, the contractor, as well as many of their subcontractors to ensure that there is a plan to go forward and try to finish up that space. And just at a very, very high level, we're still working with Budget Bulletin 1223, which means all our customer agencies continue to request approval to advance their projects from the New York State Division of Budget. And that concludes my report.
Thanks, Steve. And I do want to just say that the team we have working at Moynihan Station, really has jumped in, been full-time, been on site, so that we can be a good partner to ESD and the folks who are doing that construction work to get that facility, so important to New York, open on time. So appreciate your work, Steve, on that project. Now I'd like to ask Portia Lee to give us an update on public finance. Portia.
Thanks, Ruben. So just a brief market update. Total new issue supply is currently about $421 billion year to date, almost 21% higher than supply levels seen at this time last year. Total supply for this holiday shortened week is expected to be extremely light at about $3.3 billion. Tax exempt bond yields rose on Monday as equities surged following announcing news on a COVID-19 vaccine. The 10-year and the 30-year AAA MMD yields both increased by 5 basis points to 0.86% and 1.61% respectively. US government bond yields also pushed higher, with the 10-year Treasury increasing by 14 basis points higher to 0.95% and the 30-year increasing by 16 basis points to 1.75%. Municipal bond flows reported outflows for the week ending November 4th after reporting inflows for the previous week. Since the October board meeting, the 1-year MMD rate increased 4 basis points, the 10-year increased 9 basis points, and the 30-year the 10-year decreased by 9 basis points, and the 30-year decreased by 12 basis points. And on the Treasury front, the 10 and 30-year Treasury have increased 22 basis points and 24 basis points respectively since the last board meeting. And that concludes my report, Mr. President. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Portia. And then finally, Kim Ells, can you give us our finance report, please? Kim.
Thank you, Ruben. As highlighted in the standing financial report, we received $1.3 million in financing fees through September against a budgeted amount of $2.5 million, which represents no change since last month. The percentage of direct hours charged to public programs is slightly up at 93.9% against a budget of 92.2%. Our operating expenses are approximately $2.4 million below budget, primarily driven by personnel costs. We continue to monitor expenses closely, and we're seeing savings from travel of approximately $228,000, training approximately $123,000, and legal fees of approximately $323,000. However, we are seeing increases in insurance, which is $166,000 over projected year to date and $20,000 over budget overall. Budget staff is in the beginning stages of reviewing our year-end projections and working on developing next year's financial plan. At next month's meeting, you'll see an update to the 2021 budget and financial plan summary, which will include updated results from 1920 and projections on where we expect to end this fiscal year. One final update from last month's meeting. I just wanted to follow up on the discussion with regards to the firms KPMG will be partnering with for the engagement, Long Island Financial Management and Vallis Vindiola. I did have an opportunity to have an introductory call with both firms, and they are both eager to work alongside KPMG on the upcoming engagement. That concludes my report.
Great, thank you very much. And then we have one final piece of business, Mr. Chairman. It appears that one of the board members, Brian Jesniski, seconded by Joan Sullivan, has a motion for you to host all of us in the restaurant on top of the new building. And I see a unanimous vote, so you're up.
Listen, I was disconnected from the call for a while. I don't quite know why, and I can't get back on to the Zoom portion of the call, so I have called in from the telephone. I'm thrilled that two of the members would host us at Manhattan. But I'll warn y'all right now, they're serious up there.
Maybe we'll just have some sandwiches in my office and call it lunch.
The sandwiches that they make up there.
But Mr. Chairman, that concludes my president's report. Thanks for everyone for participating.
And let me ask the question: did we get? I was dropped off the Zoom call during Steve's presentation. Has everybody else had an opportunity to present?
Yes, we did. Steve, Portia, and Kim Ellis.
And Kim Ellis. Portia and Kim, please forgive me. I don't know what happened electronically, but I was off and could not get back on. Please accept my apology for that. Is there any other business to come for this meeting? Hearing none, today's New York Times headline says Biden calls for united front as virus rages. It was a very unsettling headline for me. I don't know what your plans are for the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday. I'm sure everybody's going to do his or her best to be safe, but pay special attention to safety because the risks, it's not spiking now, it's raging now with 111,000 cases a day. This is oppressive. And we simply need to be careful as we move into the holiday season. I wish you all the best. Happy Thanksgiving. And we will be back on the phone, of course, before Christmas with our next meeting. When is our next meeting?
Going to be on December 9th, and the mailing will be after the holiday, either Monday or Tuesday. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mike. Then may I have a motion, please, to adjourn?
You got it, Al.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
Seconding, Joan Sullivan.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Joan. Without asking for ayes, unless there is an objection, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
John Gardner,
Thank you all for